If our world's gonna survive, what matters is what we do now.
I could use your expertise.
You coming or what?
A baby raptor?
I made a promise we would bring her home.
You made a promise to a dinosaur.
Yeah. What?
Obviously, these kind of movies are always a beast to deal with, and then you had all the COVID stuff on top of that, being the first film to go back. When it came to that, was there anything that you had planned to do that you couldn't do just because of all of the restrictions that you had to follow, or was it able to do it the same way?
There were some travel issues that made it really tough for us. We had an actor, Danielle Pineda, who is in the opening of the film, actually had another scene later that we weren't able to shoot with her, even though we replaced her with an awesome British actor, Veretta Sethu, who's awesome in the movie. She was in Australia or New Zealand, couldn't leave because she was shooting her show, and she would have had to quarantine forever. So these are things that you never take into account when you're planning out a film. And so, you know, we adapted and we found ways around everything, but it's because we had, you know, the best team available.
Yeah, definitely. And even for fans, even in seeing it in the trailer, having the legacy characters back and that little moment between Anna and Ellie is emotional for me. And then when I saw it in the movie again, still emotional, even though I knew it was coming. How was it for you seeing these guys on set? Because obviously you'd worked with Jeff, co-writer for obviously for Fallen Kingdom. How was it seeing everyone back together?
You know, it's a combination of it still being your job, and so you're in it, and like, oh, this is on me to make this feel real and natural, and for this dynamic to feel like the same three people that were in that movie in 1993 really required me to rely on them and trust their instincts and ask them questions about how they think Ellie or Alan or Ian would feel about the world, about any situation. I feel like actors are the authority on their characters, especially if they've been playing them for 28 years, you know, on and off screen. And so it was a real team effort to make that feel like a natural flow.
Yeah. Was it a challenge as well to balance? Because there are two obviously distinct storylines that come together towards the end. Was it a challenge to balance both of those, or was it always the case of
yeah,
essentially?
I mean, movies are hard anyway, and screenwriting is hard. And so to do that, I mean, I really focused on just mythological structure and screenplay structure in college, and that's what I really tried to lean into to understand, you know, how to structure a story in a way that movies are traditionally made, especially movies of this size, and then to you know, break that and hopefully make it, we'll be okay. To make it, you know, understand that it is malleable if you know the fundamentals. So this is a movie that actually has two parallel storylines that each have like those beats that you tend to hit in a mainstream blockbuster movie that are happening alongside each other, and then those beats start to get closer and closer, and then they become the same. And so it was challenging but kind of exciting that I could do that, you know, in a movie like this.
Yeah, and as it came to writing it as well, obviously there are tons of Easter eggs for the fans to spot and the little callbacks. Did you have to pull yourself back a little bit and go like, no, I can't put like these all in there and stuff? Or
that's
that?
the right instinct. Yeah, no, I actually was constantly fighting against myself because as a fan, you're gonna see opportunities everywhere, and so to pull it back enough that when it does happen, it's actually something that is pretty subtle. Sometimes it's in the background or it's a quick little moment, and fans will recognize it right away, but there's a sense of discovery about it and not like, you know, laying it out on a platter and like, here's your childhood.
Yeah.
You know?
And because you worked on, obviously you directed Jurassic World, and it's been the years since coming to this one. How different did it feel to come back for this one? Were there advancements even in the technology in that short space of time that made it easier, or is it always a challenge?
I think the advancements, the technology has changed, but we did things different ways on each of the movies, so there's always a different solution to every problem, and it's kind of moment for moment. I think I'm a little older now, you know, and I've been doing this for a little bit. Safety Not Guaranteed came out 10 years ago on the day this movie comes out, and so I think having that time to also not feel like, you know, the indie director who's on the set of this giant movie and everyone on the crew having worked on far more movies than you have, and this sense of like, who is this guy, and like, should we trust this person at all? And I think I've just built up relationships with a lot of people now, working relationships with all these, you know, incredible craftspeople and artists, and so we just have a language that is just so fluid now that I'm starting to understand how filmmakers like, you know, Ridley Scott and Steven Spielberg and these guys who've been doing it so long, they can make like 2 movies in a year sometimes, and you're like, how is this possible? The language between the people they've been working with for so long, it's like they're all a hive mind almost. They just know the instincts.
Yeah, definitely. And I just wondered, finally, when it comes to, you knew this was going to be the end of not just this trilogy, but the 30-odd years of Jurassic story. Did that add an extra pressure on yourself, or did you just try and approach it as though you're just doing another Jurassic World movie. And
No, I knew it
yeah.
wasn't just another
Yeah.
Jurassic World movie, and yet the way I approached it was to be much more open to listening to how other people were feeling about any given choice along the way. Not just the actors and my co-writer Emily, but just everyone, like crew and producers, everybody we were working with. I was constantly asking how they were responding to things, because we all have our own personal relationship with the heroes that we love from our childhood, and it's just a very deep kind of relationship that people in my generation specifically have with the movies of our youth.
Yeah.
And so recognizing that, my intention and the audience's perception, that relationship is going to be what takes this movie from start to finish, and we all leave it feeling good. And so I just had to make sure that there was going to be something for everyone. And if there's something wasn't for a certain audience, that I know there's certain, if you grew up on Jurassic Park, Jurassic World may not be your jam. I understand it though, and I recognize that I make things for the new generation, for my generation, and for people who went to see Ellie and Alan when they were adults.
Yeah.